units or anything you do a repair to versus replacing it. So really, which one's better for the students, the staff members, as well as the maintenance staff members, and which one's gonna be more energy efficient, and which one's gonna be better financially. So that also brings us to the cost of this. We have not bid this out yet, but we did work to try to get an overall cost from this, an estimate. And right now, either by doing the replacement or the repair is approximately $300,000 plus. And that's regardless of whichever way that we go, because both of those have, I won't necessarily say issues, but when we're looking at the repair, as I stated earlier, we have to excavate the asphalt, replace the asphalt, excavate cement, replace cement. So there are timely considerations to take into consideration with those. So that's $300,000 plus. And then we also have to consider where are we going to pull these funds from. And right now we have had the discussions around possibly utilizing the NCDPI Public School Building Repair and Renovation Fund. And as you all are aware from previous board meetings, there's approximately $1 million that's in there that would hopefully we could utilize those funds. And we won't have to pull anything from the school district's funds in order to do so. So at this time, I'd like to ask if there are any questions around the boiler system at Hope County High School.
Yes, you said that from previous meetings, we've realized we have $1 million.
Yes, ma'am.
Dollars for, and so we wouldn't have to pull from anywhere else. Where did that $1 million come from?
That's the lottery funds that.
Right. So is it not school repairs? Can we do Echo Ridge?
Well, this isn't for Echo Ridge. This is for the high school.
Oh, okay.
It's for the boiler system that's feeding heat over to the two vocational buildings. Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I wanted to ask him as well. He said previous board meetings, we just found out, what, a couple of months ago. So just mentioned that we had this money. We didn't even know it even existed, so. And now it's already, I'm assuming you're trying to work it out so y'all can repair or replace this boiler. So how is that?
The process for drawing those funds down, that process is very similar to the funds or the lottery funds distributions that we are using for the school building, the Hope County High School campus. Of course, we would have to put an RFP out or an RFQ to try to secure multiple bids and that meets the needs that we have. And then, of course, it would come back for an action item to the board members to vote on the company selected.
I know the process, Dr. Hunt, I'm sorry. Where did you get your $300? Where's that coming from?
It was a third party that came in to do an estimate, just so that we could, it was Johnson Controls.
Johnson Controls?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is that?
Johnson Controls is a mechanical company. They work on as well as install industrial HVAC boiler systems, energy efficiencies.
So you have your paperwork for that? So we can see that? I mean, as a board, we should be able to see that.
Yes, ma'am. I can share it with you when I get back to the desk.
Okay. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Hunt, you say approximately 300,000
Yes, ma'am.
or more?
Yes, ma'am.
Or more. How much more or more? Do you have any estimate?
During the initial conversations, it was around 300,000, but when they came in and actually did a hard, I won't say quote, but an estimate of what it could be, the price increased up to 355,000. So we won't really know what the final cost would be until we put the request for bid out or request for quotes.
Okay. Anyone else?
My question is, how long is this probably going?
In the spring, so you're looking somewhere around May. Yes,
Around May. Okay, so I know schools get ready to start back, so why wasn't this brought to our attention like at the beginning so that we can kind of start getting this issue resolved, because schools get ready to start, and they're gonna be, I mean, I know the students won't, but I'm just saying, students will be on campus, and it's gonna be a long, like.
Well, hopefully, it
this
wouldn't.
process.
I don't know how long it'll take, but I can ask and give that time. The reason why is because we wanted to wait and get the price about almost how much it would cost, so that we could be able to provide that to you as well.
Okay, that was my concern, because if we know what the issue has been going on for a minute, then maybe we could have, this could have been addressed earlier. And I know you gotta get prices, but, so that we could have took care of this project during the summertime before the students come back.
Madam Chair, I just want to ask Dr. Hunt, what if we didn't have this lottery fund? Because again, we just found out when we went to Wrightsville Beach that we had this money. We didn't even know, we wasn't made aware by the finance department or anybody, we just found out. So if you didn't find out about this money, or we didn't find out, how was we gonna get this done?
Well, the answer to this question also leads into the next presentation. But we were also working towards a grant, and we were hoping to receive that grant in order to try to help mitigate these costs as well.
So you was gonna use the grant money instead of the lottery money, if we didn't have the.
Correct. So when we get into the next presentation, you will see what we were hoping to go to in phase 1, 2, or 3, and how much money we were hoping to receive when we applied for the grant. So
Yeah, there was no guarantee that we were gonna get the grant.
correct. But we were looking at it through different lenses about how to utilize funds appropriately, so that we could try to not pull funds from the school district, but instead reserve our funds that the school district has and use other sources.
So we would have had to use the school district money if you didn't have this lottery money and you didn't get the grant, you have to use school money.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
But why are we so stuck on using the lottery money for this?
Oh, we're not, we just said
That's
that's
just an option.
an option.
Thank you.
It's the option.
Okay, thank you.
We're trying to present all the options so you know what we have on the table.
Okay, all right, I'll wait until the next video. I got some more questions.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any more questions? Okay, all right. So are we ready for John Morath? Are we gonna move
Let's go
on
ahead and
to
do the.
renewing American schools? Okay.
So moving into the next topic is the Renew America School Grant, and there's also, I think there's 3 different links on this option that you have on the agenda. The first option is a letter, an awards letter saying congratulations, this is how much of the money that you won when you applied for the grant, and also to let us know what our status is. The second link that you have is the presentation for tonight, which is displayed on the screens. And then the third link is an actual article about the grant itself and the awardees for those school districts who applied across the nation and received funding. So on the presentation, beginning on slide 3 for the Renew America School Grant, the purpose of the grant is it began in 2022 and it's going to last through 2026, and it's through the Department of Energy, and it's a $500 million program that is spread across those 4 years, and that came from President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law. Long story short, the purpose of the grant is to help school districts purchase or install or seek out energy efficiency initiatives. So basically that means how to cut costs with the energy that we're using, because across the US, public K-12 schools are actually one of the significant sources that emits the most greenhouse emissions. Moving into slide 4. During this grant, there are 3 different phases, and I mentioned that just a few minutes ago. Phase one is an actual submission of a portfolio about the school district, and what type of energy, are we energy efficient or not? And basically during that portfolio, we want to build a case to show that we have a high need for energy assessments and energy improvements. Then in phase two and phase three, both of those are cooperative agreements, which basically you go into an agreement with the Department of Energy and or companies in order to go through and repair and replace and install the energy efficiency materials to do energy improvements. So on that little chart there, what you see in phase one, there's supposed to have been up to 23 winners in phase one. The award for that was $300,000, and there is no cost share. And what that means by cost share is that as a public school unit or an LEA, then there was a price cost match. In phase one, there is not a price cost match, and the government had stated that they would put out up to $6.9 million across the United States for awardees. Over in phase two, each row basically symbolizes the same thing, and you can see that the award in phase two was $500,000 up to $1 million, but there was a 5% match that the school district would have had to have provided. And then if awarded and moved into phase three, 7 million to 14 million, but then there was a 25% match. Moving into slide 5, the timelines. The first round, as stated earlier, was done in 2022, so the 2022-2023 school year. We did apply for that grant last year, but we were not awarded with any grant funds. So moving into this year, we planned again and collaborated again and decided to submit again. So we did submit in 2023, 2024. And as you can see, the last two bullets on there, there were 21 phase one winners. 16 of those winners are advancing to phase two across the nation. And then Hope County Schools was actually a phase one winner. So that means that we did earn or receive $300,000 for energy efficiency project. Moving on to the next slide, this just shows that those school districts in those states across the United States who are actually winners or awardees of phase one. And in North Carolina, there were only 2 school districts who won something in phase one, and that was Rockingham County Schools and Hope County Schools. Moving into the next slide. Just so that you know that this isn't a hoax, there is a copy of the letter there that's from the Department of Energy that's stating that we were awarded the $300,000 in phase one. All the paperwork has been submitted back to the Department of Energy. Today was actually the deadline to submit that information so that we could receive those funds. And then whenever you go over to page 8, thank yous. We have Johnson Controls up there because they help do the energy assessment of our school district. But Mr. Manis and myself also work with Johnson Controls to write the grant and compose the materials and have everything submitted in a timely manner. And then also we had community support who wrote letters on behalf of Hope County Schools to say that we do need those. And that was the Sheriff's Office, the Kiwanis Club, the Rayford Chamber of Commerce, and also the News Journal. So in other words, for those letters of support, we did, because it was a grant, we did receive points for the having community support letters in place. And then the last slide, which is slide 9, is just the resources where you can click on and receive some more information about the grant if you want to for reading material. So at this time, I'd like to ask if there's any questions about the grant.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Dr. Hunt, regarding page 7 or slide 7, you said we did meet the deadline to submit the paperwork.
Yes, sir. Had all that submitted by yesterday evening, and then I got an email back saying that they recognized that everything was submitted. And I'm glad that you went back to slide 7, Mr. Castron, because I'd like to also point out that Hope County Schools is an alternate to go to phase 2. So in other words, if one of the school districts who were awarded to go to phase 2 cannot secure that cooperative agreement with someone or another company, then Hope County Schools could be looked at in its place.
Anybody else have any questions? Who wrote the grant?
We partnered with Johnson Controls.
Who here?
Mr. Manis and myself also chimed in with Johnson Controls to write it. So we all had various parts to do.
So when you say you partner with Johnson Controls, was there a fee that you paid with Johnson Controls?
No, ma'am, there was no fee.
No fee? And so the support letters, how do you go about choosing the 4 people or 4 companies to be your support letter?
Well, the Chamber of Commerce, is, Hope County, also the Sheriff's Office. We tried to go with businesses or community members who were, I guess you could say like large names, supporters of Hope County schools. There really wasn't a particular reason. It was down to a time frame or a time crunch in order to get letters. More than 4 requests were made, and but those are the 4 letters that we received.
Anyone else? Oh, I have one question.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
300,000, I keep hearing that again. Did I hear you say something in this slide about 300,000?
On slide 7.
Mm-hmm.
So in phase 1, we won $300,000. So we were provided that as the award prize. But what I mentioned about this particular slide is that in phase 1, if there is a school district across the nation that got selected to go into phase 2, and they cannot secure a cooperative agreement, or they say that, as an example, that we cannot provide the 5% cost match, then they would back out and Hope County Schools could be moved up to phase 2. So Hope County Schools is an alternate.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just want to get clarification, Dr. Hunt. We have secured those $300,000.
Yes, sir. The paperwork or the, so whenever I say the paperwork was submitted to the federal government, we had to submit our finance officer signature with the W-9 and bank account information so it could be direct deposited. Today was the deadline, but we had all that in place by yesterday.
So if we went to phase 2 for the reasons that you specified, we still have secured those $300, or we lose those $300,000?
Now, we have secured that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, I have one more question.
Okay.
Along with the other information that you're gonna get us, I would like to see those 4 support letters. I would love to see what they wrote about us.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I think this is a great thing that we got this grant. Thank you.
Thank
Is Mr. Burrell ready, or we gonna keep on? Is he on?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you for that.
You text
Okay, so at this time we have Mr. Barath with construction updates.
Thank you. Good evening. So hopefully following up on nothing but good news here following that presentation. So the update for school construction, you're very familiar with it at this point. We'll walk through some of the construction progress since our last meeting, and we'll also touch on schedule and the finances. So next slide, please. So in this slide, you're going to see the, well, I'll wait till it comes up. Did it not advance? Oh, there we go. So as you drive by out there, I'm sure you've seen and witnessed some walls going up high. Those will be around the gymnasium. You also see a lot of steel. So this view, you're looking at the administration area with the gym on the left. Masonry continues to go up. You can see a lot of dirt on the ground. There's a section between the gym area and the classroom areas where they're continuing their underground conduit and piping. Next slide, please. More of the same. You can see the gymnasium and the administration just working its way around with the masons, getting the walls up, and again, getting everything in place so they can pour that last bit of concrete floor in there. Next slide, please. On the left, this is your geothermal pump house. On the right side in there, you can see all the from the geothermal loop field that come into that room. Those are circuits. And then on the left is the standing pipes for the ones that serve into the school to distribute it around the school for your heating and air conditioning. And on the right, as you've seen already, that is where the gymnasium is going to be. So as they start that high scaffolding. Next slide, please. A broader view, this is back of the building. So my back's towards the athletic field house. You can see the steel framing on the right for the two-story classroom wing. You can see high wall for the gym, sort of left of center, and then the remaining of the school wing to the left in the front where the cafeteria, kitchen, wrestling room, etc. will be. Next slide, please. Just some pictures of them getting the steel plumb. It's referred to as racking with tension cables, so everything's straight and level and ready to receive the plank. Next slide. Throughout that whole area of the classroom wing, they were busy going around. And then you may remember from previous slides how the concrete was not poured around the steel columns. Purposeful until they get them all set true and plumb and racked. Next slide, please. Then the exciting part came where they began to bring in and crane in the concrete planks for the floors for the second floor of the classroom. Very different look. Go to the next slide, please. You're used to seeing in construction more steel joists and metal decking above for floors. In this case, you just have a flat concrete system. Decreases some heights of the building a little bit, but makes it a lot more simpler. Next slide, please. And then so it gives a different look at the rooms, and you see things are starting to take shape with the walls and the flooring above going in place. Next slide, please. And then left, you're still looking down at the great first floor level, and the second, you're up on the second floor. And you can see the planks all coming together, sort of. The gaps between them get filled with grout, so it's completely solid. Next slide, please. Just more images of things in place from the second floor level. Steel above is going to be for the roof framing and the penthouse framing for the mechanical equipment. Next slide, please. And again, like I said, waiting until everything was in place and ready to set the steel straight and getting the foundation in. And I always like to highlight some good things that happen on the project when possible. We'd love to see people actually looking at the construction drawings and checking the measurements, dimensions, work, and where things actually go. So always good to see that and see that in use. Helps with the coordination. Next slide, please. So here's an aerial from the high school site, looking out past over it in the foreground. And in the background, you can see the steel frame with some of the concrete planks of the two-story classroom wing in the area with the yellow. That's the vapor barrier for the concrete between the front entry on the left and the kitchen and outdoor dining cafeteria on the right. Next slide. Good picture of your heavy rain and some of the on-site little pondings. It's been obviously, like your place is very wet out there the past week. So they continue to do it as they safely can, especially when you're working with cranes and equipment and scaffolding. So next slide, please. And then where the classroom wing is, the steel frames, and you see how those concrete planks are starting to be dropped in place and getting that second floor ready so masonry can continue up. Next slide, please. This is on the back, again, towards the field house. And you can see that center area, and that's on the opposite side, your main entrance to the school, and then the common area into the cafeteria. And then the gymnasium, left classroom on the right. And you can see kind of the footing excavation and outline for where the kitchen, the health classrooms, training room, wrestling room, lockers, and such will be towards the foreground. And the next slide, please. So to talk about the schedule again, which is what we talked about last time, substantial completion as of February in 2026, and this is for the actual school building. the parking lot in the front and most of the drive around the back, with a final completion, which basically the punch list items are done 30 days later at the end of March. Phase 2 is the demolition of existing buildings occupied, construction of the tennis courts, the bus lot, and the additional parking. Obviously, they can't start that until the move-in is complete and the buildings are vacated on the campus. And so the move-in's about June 8th of 2026 and completed in July 20th of 20. So that's when they can start taking these buildings, abating it, and demolition and doing the work. And once they start that July 21st, anticipated that they'll be done with that work January 20th, and then all punch list items about the end of February. So Dr. Hunt, Mr. Manis, and I have been working with the board attorney along with Metcon J&K to get all this information in the contract. You may recall there were some blank fill-ins to be done in the contract. Once everything was bid out, schedules could be developed based off of it, et cetera. So we are anticipating the next board meeting to bring an amendment to the contract that will have all this laid out and spelled out in there. Next slide, please. So far on the budget, Metcon and J&K factors are about 22% paid, which is just a hair behind progress on the project, which is about rounded to 24% at the time of this. As far as your contingencies, I update that every month. The contractor contingencies for scope of work, gaps or duplications or other issues related to that, they've used just under 9.5% of that contingency. For the design contingency, these are things that are errors and omissions that they missed, items in there or conflicts and such. They've used just under 64%. And again, your contingency has grown contingency by 35.5%. And again, a lot of that is from the value engineering of the size of the geothermal field in the number of loops, and also some value engineering on the canopies that will connect both campus structures from one crossing to the other. So that's a great healthy condition for funding in that point. And if we can go to the other document that included financial update of expenditures budgets for the project. And I'll wait for that to come up. So the yellow column E on the right, I always highlight things that have changed since the previous meeting. This identifies, obviously, payment being made to the general contractor, payments out of adjustments from the contingencies. Yours shows a negative because you actually grew money in there, so it increases your total in column D. And then the design, the architect, a payment to the architect. So those represent changes. There are others that are in process. They just weren't completed by the time this was prepared for the board. Items such as material testing and special inspection invoicing, and along with invoicing from myself at this time. So at this point, the project is remaining within the budget as originally identified and at the pace of the expenditures. I've also worked with Dr. Hunt and staff to develop a projection of expenditures throughout the project that he shared with the county to help them with making sure that you're the funds and the payments in order to maintain the pace of the project. Later in the project, you're going to have expenditures actually for the furniture that you've already approved last November. I think it was. There'll be technology purchases and systems such as that to come up. So we laid out a plan for all that so that they would be prepared and know the anticipated amount of invoices that could be submitted during the life of the project. So that's the update for the month. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Mr. Barath, when is the last time that you've been on site? Yeah, Hope County.
It was 2.5. I'd have to look at my calendar. 2.5, 3 weeks ago. I'm there tomorrow for most of the day.
Tomorrow?
Yes. I didn't come during all the heavy rains because there wasn't a lot of work or anything going on out there, really.
I know Ruben, you walk with them sometime whenever they on the
Yeah,
new project.
yes, Madam Chair. The last time I went to a meeting was actually during the summer, because that was available. But the current meeting has been postponed to what, tomorrow? Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to attend because I also have some other commitments going on.
Okay, thank you. I know I walk out there, I don't know what I'm looking at, but, you know, I'm just wondering when this is the last time you've been on site and how often do you come? I think in the contract you said you will be coming, if I can recall, twice a month. Twice a month?
Quite some month down there. And so we have our owner, architect, and contractor meeting near the beginning of each month. And then I come another time. Sometimes I come 3 times. It depends on what needs to be done, and meeting with various user groups, such as working with technology on camera system, specific locations, pathways, etc. So there's intermittent opportunities as well.
Madam Chair. Mr. Baram, you may have gone over this, I don't know, I have some type of delayed reaction today. But what did you say, was the red funding under expenditures?
Oh, that owner contingency, that is actually showing that it grew. You didn't spend any, you gained money. So your original owner contingency fund was the $1,289,174. It has grown, and it is now $1,746,964. So the expenditure is a little awkward when you see that. I understand how that can be confusing. When you see actually a negative, it's actually a gain in expenditure.
Okay,
Madam
thank
Chair, I
you.
have a question. You had mentioned something about the furniture, the school furniture?
Yes, eventually, right now, there's no expenditure. However, the funds have been encumbered. Agreement has been signed for that and forecasted through the project to help with county, since the funding for the project's coming from the county via their funding, capital, financing, whatever, and also the needs-based grant, which flows through them. Worked with Dr. Hunt and others to build a schedule for the project all the way through on what they can anticipate expenditures to be on a monthly basis. So obviously there's no furniture expenditures now. They'll be in, later, much later, but we built that into there so they would know approximately each month throughout the project how much money they would need to have available to meet the requests for payments and invoices.
Okay, I was just a little confused because it was kind of like a rush on us making a decision to go ahead and order the furniture.
Yes, and as I recall from the presentation at the time by Dr. Shotwell, it was to secure the funding in today dollars at the time, as opposed to the increases in furniture companies have sometimes more than one increase in cost of items in a year to secure it at those costs that day, as opposed to incurring additional escalation costs.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Barrett.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
You too. At this time, we're gonna have the vacancy report.
Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Spells, good evening. Ms. Holmes is passing out the vacancy report, for you to look on as I review this report. while she's passing that out, we had 2 exciting days yesterday and today. We had our new teacher orientation, at East Hope Middle School, started yesterday morning at 8, and then we had it today. And then in the afternoon, they did their curriculum part. We had a total of 65 teachers, beginning teachers, at our orientation. So we're excited to have them on board, for them to receive their orientation. On Friday as well, we will receive 16 of our educational partner international teachers. They will be at HR to get on board on Friday, so those teachers will arrive this Friday. So we also excited to have them as well.
You said 16 of them?
16,
Where they coming from?
different countries. Okay. Just various countries.
No, they coming from different countries.
Most of them are coming from the Philippines.
Okay.
For the vacancy report, for this month, we have a total of 147 still positions to be filled. That's certified as well as classified. It has came down a lot. Just Hope County High School along tonight, but still a lot of them pending, but Hope County High will only have 15 certified positions after tonight at Hope County High. So that's extremely, good for Hope County High School. Again, for certified, we have a total of 108 vacancies still there. Most of them are math, EC, and science. And then we do have a few, English or reading teachers available. And then a total of 39 classified custodians, bus drivers, and bus monitors that we are still in need for in child nutrition. Okay. Any questions about the vacancy report?
And McLaughlin has 0.
And McLaughlin has, well, they have 1 certified position now, they have an academic coach position.
Questions?
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. So are there academic coaches at all schools, like the
At elementary schools, only in
So
elementary.
McLaughlin is the only one without?
There without, well, they have one that's gonna maintain, we will not remove that person until October, until that person is on board and get trained, because the person that is their academic coach now will be transferred or promoted to HR as the personnel support coordinator.
Thank you so much. All right, at this time, we are going to have financial updates. Greetings, everyone. Madam Chair, board members, distinguished guests. I'm before you to report our financial standings. You have some documents in front of you. Of course, you also have a notebook that Welina worked diligently on. There's a lot of numbers in there, a lot of information, but we've condensed it to short and sweet, the form you just got, our cover sheet. So that you don't have to deal with all of the murky stuff. We'll do that for you. The first thing we'd like to, let me go over this, these sheets you have before you first, the cover sheet. It basically is short and sweet. It tells us our balances, the expenses, and what we have remaining. Do you want to follow along with me?
So your red negative.
My red negative is, yeah, it's the conventional, we spent it. It's gone or encumbered, or it's gonna be gone soon.
Okay.
Okay, in your notebooks, I don't think you wanna follow along, but this information is a condensed version of what you have in your notebooks. So our state allotments, revision 14, we're up to 14 now, guys, so it's been trying, but it's been exciting. As the changes come in, we're addressing them, and it's been exciting. Our state allotment, Fund 1, that's where our expenses mainly for teachers, office administration, non-instructional support, school building administration, and at-risk student salaries. The balance is $72,380,000, $555.09. Our budget, Fund 2, that's mainly our board expenses come out of there, as well as salaries for maintenance, transportation, athletics, operations, utilities, and charter schools. Our ESSER funds, you'll be glad to know that we have nearly depleted. Our students are gonna benefit greatly from those funds. I don't know if we've got a slideshow, there we go. And so we're just gonna review the balances at this time. Our PRC 81 funds, those funds have all been encumbered with learning programs and instructional supplies. So students are gonna benefit completely from that pot of money. Next slide. PRC 184, it has also been allocated, that's our homeless funds. All but 24,367.22 has been encumbered. We've already gotten with our executive director, and she has already gotten a plan for our students to benefit for the remainder of those funds as well. Ms. Holmes, could you hold up? Dr. Owens, can you tell me now the definition of our homeless again?
So, the definition for homeless is those students without a nighttime residence. And also it depends on the situation, but primarily they do not have a nighttime residence. But they could be living in a camper, they could be living double up. So we made that decision based on the information that we gathered from the family at the time.
Okay, so at one time I thought it was like even if they were living with their grandparents.
That's what I was, double up living
Okay,
situation. That's what I refer to as double up.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. That's what we're here for. Our next pot of money is PRC 188. Those funds also, we have a balance of 13,596.39. Those funds have been encumbered to pay our summer transition salaries. So it will also go towards the benefit of our students. We don't anticipate having any left. PRC 189, that's our final allocation for at-risk students. You see the remaining balance of 98,781, and is in large part because initially the state gave us stipulations to use this tutoring for students K-3. And then funds weren't being utilized across the state as they would have liked. So they then increased it to K-8. And finally, we're allowed now to use it for K-12 students. So we anticipate using those funds for our at-risk students as well, targeted students. Any questions about ESSER 3?
So what funds in ESSER have to be spent by
September 30th, all of these, and that's why we work diligently as a team, as a district, to ensure that it was gonna be responsible spending and it was gonna benefit the students. We didn't just decide we were going to spend. Yes, several meetings, a lot of collaboration, and we think we've got a great plan for our students, for these funds. No, ma'am, we don't intend on sending not one penny back.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Any more questions? Okay, well, Ms. Richardson is going to come and expound on our lottery funds.
Good evening. We'll switch to the next slide. Okay, it was on the next slide right after that answer, but we'll continue. It's also in your book in the yellow section. So we've been asked a lot of questions concerning the lottery funds, and we studied and we worked it out so we can try to make it understandable. There are 4 different pots in the lottery fund. So there's an ATM lottery that helps take care of our capital outlay debts. Then there's the lottery fund, is this next fund, which is bond debt repayment that helps take care of schools and large debts that Hope County Schools runs into. Then there's the need-based lottery fund, which we were given $50 million to build the high school, and the county matched that. So we got 75 million altogether to build the high school. Now, we just want you to know that this money is not controlled by Hope County's public schools, but rather, say that again?
I thought we got 78 altogether.
Okay, they were supposed to be 25, but they went above what they were supposed to do.
So how much do we get?
We got $78 million altogether. So this is not controlled by Hope County Public Schools, but rather the county. They are the custodians of those funds. Now, we talked about the repair and renovation funds. These funds came about in 2022. And I think I heard Chairperson Shovelin saying that we didn't know, the finance department did not know anything about these funds until last year whenever we were talking about the large projects, and we were told that there may have been some lottery funds, so that's when we did our research. So each year they're putting more and more money in that, and it's for the Hope County Public Schools. If we have large renovations or repair, then we can pull that money down, but we still have to go through the county. So we can make the decision, we have to get quotes like Chad's mentioned, we have to get more than 1 quote, more than 3. So once they decide that and they approve it, it goes down to the county funds. We get the work done, we take the invoices, we send it to the county and they pay it. But it is for our use if we need it. But like I said, we did not know it was there because we've always been told that the lottery funds was for debt service. So once we found out that in 2022, they started dropping money for us, that's when we realized that we can use it.
Where are we at in this book?
We're behind the yellow section. Right. So the first part is red, which is the state, then there's green, which is the local budget, the blue, and then yellow is the remaining ESSER funds and lottery funds.
Okay.
Page 4.
And also, I know you guys probably know this, but we just like to say that Hope County Schools is the largest site that houses employment for Hope County. So all of our funds that we get, we're so grateful for them, but about 85% of our funds that we get are paid in salaries. So I think we should take pride that we are, since the turkey plant closed, we are the largest employer. So any questions on that part? You good? Yeah, teacher assistants, I think. Yep, teacher assistants going out. Okay, so as that slide is being pulled up, in June of 23, we met with every teacher assistant in Hope County Schools. I believe Chairwoman was there, Blue, and Ms. Sutherland was there with us. And we discussed that they were gonna be going to hourly with the fiscal year 25, which would have been this year. And we asked if anyone wanted to go ahead and change to hourly, and we had quite a few people do that. So we did get some phone calls from people saying, well, we thought we were going hourly, but we didn't because of the complications that was going on, that this year would not have been a good year to start them. So because they already know, we don't have to have another meeting, but we do have to send out a letter to let them know that we will be going to hourly fiscal year 26. The benefits of that is because most of them are dual employees. So we had a meeting with the lawyers, and we have to pay them the higher rate that they make. And obviously they make more money driving a bus than being a teacher assistant. So the minute that they clock into that bus, we have to start paying them the bus rate. While their salary, it makes it difficult to do that because we have to back out pay, and they don't understand that, so they ask the questions and they're like, well, we're not getting paid correctly, but they are. So when you go hourly, it's a more precise timing, and they know exactly what they're making from the moment they get here to the moment they leave. So, this is just the information, because like I said, we've already got the approval to change them hourly. We just could not change them for fiscal year 25. So we'll have to do it with the next school year, and that gives them another year to prepare, because their pay will change, only because they won't start getting paid in August, they'll start getting paid their first check in September. But they get September through June, now they're just getting August through May. So they're getting the same amount of months, it just starts a month later.
Questions, are there any TAs that don't drive the bus? So what would they say?
Well, we have people, TAs that are not driving the bus that are hourly. So the difference is that they just have to make sure they're clocking in and out, so their salary is about the same.
So the salary would be the same even if they don't drive the bus?
Well, they're not gonna make as much money as a teacher assistant that drives a bus, but their base salary will be the same.
What's that? What's the base salary?
Well, so right now, because this steps into the next thing of salary, teacher assistants, most of them are only making like $15.60 an hour. But the state has updated that, but that's for the next section, so I don't know if you want me to go into that yet.
So with the bus, will you?
Did you get your answer?
No, I didn't, but she can go ahead. Go ahead, I can say it. Go ahead.
So are y'all gonna be, you said, you talked about precise, and I do know that when bus drivers came on the site and waited, they're still on the bus, waited for the kids weren't on the bus, they stopped the clock, something like that.
Well, when they have to clock out of their teacher assistant job, so we pay them as a teacher assistant until they get on the bus. Once they clock in on the bus, they're no longer a teacher assistant.
Right, and they're a bus driver all the way up until
they finish that route.
So there's no stopping, like, at home, if they come to Hokai and wait on the kids. If the kids are not there, then they stop the clock, that's not gonna happen.
Well, we don't stop that, we don't do that. So like, only thing we stop is when they stop being a teacher assistant, we pay them until they clock in on the bus, and then they are paid as a bus driver until they clock out.
I have a question. So what happens, like, and I know that was one of the issues that a few of the bus drivers stated, that when there was a wreck on 401, and they're just sitting in that traffic, no students on there, and they're still on the bus, so are they still getting paid for that too?
I'd have to check on that, because I don't know about that.
I'm just asking, because
Because they haven't clocked out.
so they're still, even though
They haven't clocked out, so, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's not an issue, because that was one of the issues that they did address.
That happened, they're still clocked in there. So I just want to get it straight. I know Catherine and I was there at that meeting, and so you're saying, you say you spoke with the attorneys, and maybe this is a question for the attorney. You're saying that we don't have to vote again, because we already discussed it to start this year, but it's not starting this year, it's starting next year. So I'm just kind of confused with that, because we told them that it was gonna start this year. So what was the reasoning for it not starting this year?
Well, the reason that we didn't start them because there were so many other things going on in the whole county at the time, that we just felt like, to keep them from calling you all, to keep them from doing whatever, because there were still some spirited ones that does not want to go hourly, but they're still complaining about their checks not being right, because we have to back out when they get on the bus.
Yeah, so they're complaining because we gave them our word that we were gonna start there. So now you say we're not starting it this year, we're gonna start next year. So what if something come up again and we back out of, we can't say that because we backed out this time and we didn't see it coming this year. So might be something that come up next year and we have to back out, but once we give our word, yeah, that should happen this year.
The only way that the ones who are still salaried is if they're grandfathered in, because every teacher assistant from that day, from June, has been hourly. So as our teacher assistants are being hired, they're being hired as hourly employees. So the ones that did not, we have a few of them that were retiring, that they chose not to go hourly, but the majority of them did go hourly.
So you have some TAs now that's hourly?
Yeah, every time we hire a TA, they're hired as hourly.
Okay. I have a question. I don't know if you can answer this. If I've been a TA already for like 15 years, and then someone else that come in and just get hired, are we making the same salary?
Madam Blue. So this year is the year that salaries change. Now teacher assistants, they have been given 3 grade levels. So they're coming in, they have the 48 hours, there's a pay schedule. If they have, because they didn't acknowledge this before, if they have an associate's degree, they have a pay level. If they have a bachelor's, they have a pay level. So they've changed it and we've changed the steps. So that's one of the things that you guys will get tonight to look at. So they're no longer gonna be making 1560 across the board.
So the answer is no.
Right now, they are making about the same thing, but after you say yes to this space gallery, they will not. And our teacher assistant funds will allow us to pay them the difference that the scale is bringing today.
So back to the attorney, is that something that we have to vote on again or no? Because we need to make it right.
I guess I'd have to see the language of the actual vote to see whether it continues or applies.
Because right now it's up in the information.
You're talking about voting for next year?
No, yeah, before, we voted for it to start this year, and it did because they said something came up. So I'm just trying to understand what we have to do for next year. Because I mean, it's different, it didn't happen in this year, so we're saying that it's gonna happen next year. So I'm just trying to see.
I guess I'd have to see the vote. I wasn't here for that vote, don't have it in front of me. It would seem like there'd be time to deal with it for next year. I don't think you'd have to take action tonight.
Right.
But you could put that on a matter to bring forward to the board, look at what that vote was and what has to be done if anything for next year.
Okay.
Y'all have questions over there, board members?
Madam Chair.
Uh-huh.
So one thing I want to seek clarification, when we speak, and Ms. Richardson, when we're speaking about next year, are we talking about school year 2024, 2025, or 25, 26?
Fiscal year 26.
So
right.
Next year.
Yes, because.
So it'd be 25, 26.
Right.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, salary scale. Okay.
Before we get started, Madam Chair, can you get this band off?
Okay, thank you. Scott.
So in your orange section, the very last section in your book, there are several salary scales that have been updated. I don't know if you have been looking at the NCDPI salary scales for 24-25. But if you need a copy, I will be glad to get you one. They have changed to a new schedule. They're no longer doing grade 65 and things like that. They have changed to an NC scale for North Carolina. So they put different salaries at different levels. So we're gonna talk about the administrative scale. That's gonna be on the action item, because that's the one you guys want to really talk about. But we have a new scale for nurses that are not holding their national boards. And that one was a significant change. Like I said, the teacher assistant salary scale has changed significantly. Our custodians, just like the teacher assistants, were being paid basically $15.60 an hour, no matter when they came, which is not fair to them either. And also the child nutrition assistants. So we would like for you to look at those scales and see if they meet your approval.
You said child
And
nutrition.
right, I don't wanna jump ahead, so I believe you have the administrative scale on the action item.
It is. So what are we looking at right now?
Right, the first one in there is actually the administration scale. The problem with that one was that for some reason, most of our administrators were going administrative zero. There is no administrative zero. So whenever we discussed it, and that's where most of the problems came from, whenever we discussed it, we said we had to look at it, but at the time last year, I couldn't do it last year because I was waiting for the new scales. But they were complaining about their salaries. Their salaries were right, they were just on the wrong scale. So the scales have been updated.
Okay,
So,
so do you have like definitions in here of administrative one and administrative?
yes, if you turn to the second page with the green stripe across. So an administrative one is basically a district supervisor or assistant director. So this time, we have one district supervisor and one assistant director. So the administration two is school-based coordinators. Those are that are at a direct school, like high school or whatever. Then we have the EC-based coordinators. Then the administrative four is our district-based coordinators. They're mostly housed at upstairs Turtleton or somewhere, but they're working with the entire district. So then we have the five, which are the directors, and then 6 is the executive directors. There is another level, 7, which is the assistant superintendent, but that doesn't have a scale because that's between the superintendent and HR, and then they bring it to you all in closed session.
And then you have the years of experience, and then you have to calculate all that into it.
And that's the biggest thing that we need to know about, because as you know, when you have a regular certified teacher scale, and anybody who is on those standards scales, every year that they teach or whatever, they get a step. Once you move off of those standardized scales, you no longer move like the teacher. So if I've been teaching for 16 years and decided to become a district coordinator, when I sit down and they give me my salary, I sign my contract because I accept it. Next year, you're still gonna be at 16, but you're gonna get the percentage that the state says, because now you are basically looked at like the classified. We only get a step when the state says we get a step, but every year we get a percentage. Is it right? So once you get off, once you get on, like, yeah. So then it doesn't make sense, but once you accept that salary, then all you get now is the percentages, and when the state says you can have a step, then you get a step, but they hardly ever give us steps.
They always give us 2%.
Right, or 3% or whatever. Sometimes they'll give us 5 bonus days, but they don't move like the teachers do. And so that's that one. And I also included in your book especially the ones that you probably have been getting phone calls from. I try to break it down so you can understand or see where they have moved on the scale. And then like, the next page is the registered nurses. They put them on a totally different scale and raised those, incomes considerably.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Ms. Richardson. So I'm looking at the teacher assistant for 2024. You're saying that this scale was provided to you by the state?
No, the state gives us the only one that they give us exact are, like I said, the standardized cells. When it comes to anyone else, they say that we can pay them in between the lowest amount, they give us the lowest amount and the highest amount. Then we have to take that and subtract it and divide it by 30 to see what each step is gonna be.
My question is that you reference, having the 40 hours versus the bachelor's degree. And I look at, step 0, that's entirely the same all the way across. There's no incentive for the one person that comes in with a, bachelor's degree or the associate degree.
And that's because the state says that the lowest amount that we can pay them actually is $15 an hour, but we took it to the next step.
So that's 60 cents.
Well, no,
That's like 15
Well, what is the next step? Because, step 0 is the same all the way across.
right, and that's at zero, so the state says that they have to be at the lowest amount at 0.
But you said we didn't have 0, right?
No, that's in the administration.
Oh, Lord, so we have 0 in.
That's a step 0, but hardly ever is anyone hired at a step 0. The only way you would be hired as a step 0 is if you just are green, have no kind of experience. Most of our teacher assistants that are coming, if they have an associate's degree or a bachelor's, they have experience.
So what you're saying is, these salaries right here, we can set these salaries, right? Correct?
To an extent, Ms. Gilman, that's because we have to stay within the budget that we're giving. So it would be lovely if we can give them all much more, but if we can't afford it.
The budget that we're given, like, what, from the county?
From the state, the teachers,
State?
yeah, from the state budget. So if you look at what Eric was talking about, in the first page, she gave you your allotments. So it says that our teacher assistant budget is, that's on the first page after the red, the very first page in the front of the book. It's in the front. Yep, the very, very front. You guys, turn the page from the red to the next page. There you go. Where it says Fund 1 State Initial Allotments. So these are the budget codes, like, if you look at the classroom teachers, they're saying that we only can have 388.93 teachers. So that's why we have to be careful and we have to budget them out all over. That's why I said 85% of our budget is paying for salary.
And that's based on how large this.
Right, because of our student count. We lost a lot of funding, but we're hoping that with all these new houses, our students will be coming back. So if they come back, then our funding will go back up. But right now, we have lost quite a bit of funding. But if you look at number, teacher assistants are paid out of 27, Fund 27. And if you look over, that's the amount of money that they gave us, the $3 million, but that has to be divided between all of the teacher assistants that we have.
How many teachers, do you have any teacher assistants there?
I can't tell you, I don't have that written down.
So teachers assistants, if they're a bus driver, they're making more as a bus driver. The bus drivers are making what, 18?
They're making 18.
But you just said the TAs are gonna still be in that same category, but just the bus drivers is still a little bit more, right?
Right. And right now, we don't have many teacher assistants that are at a one, like a 0 or 1. So right now, all of them are getting about, average about 15, 60 an hour. But once we change the salaries, they will see a difference in their paycheck.
Was that, is it a 1%?
No.
I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, I'm just trying to figure out how we can just keep our people, like, from going to other districts. Lose somebody because the other district can give more money. So statewide, if they giving us the same money,
They're not.
we're not.
No, ma'am.
So how is it that a district, we're bigger than another district because we're bigger? How can they, how can we even compete with that? If that district is offering our teachers or administrators or admins more money, and we're bigger than that district.
But when you say bigger than, are you talking about size or student-wise? Because they count by students.
Student-wise.
Okay, so it's a lot of aspects that goes into that because they're looking at your low wealth money, they're looking at how, I don't like to use that word, how disadvantaged your county is. They're looking at a lot of different things that they come up with these formulas. So whenever they come up with formulas, most of our money is based on our students. So, and not only that, but I'm very excited, I know I'm off topic, about the fact that they're doing this for the teacher assistants, because remember at one time they were trying to get rid of them altogether.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, I mean, I'm very excited. No, it's not enough money, you're right. But it's all the whole county can afford.
Most counties, a lot of counties.
Yes,
got
ma'am.
rid of it.
So are we gonna look at, a company that can do a pay study?
Yeah, we talked about that. We got 3 companies that we're looking at.
Yeah, 3 companies will look at
Okay, so.
Salary study.
salary stuff.
That's my next question.
Okay. Is anything else related to Ms. Richardson so we can stay on task? Any more questions? Thank you, Ms. Richardson. I want to answer, Board Member Angela's, question a little bit myself personally. I know we can't compete with money. We got money, but for the most part, we can't compete. And I feel like if you make, teachers and staff feel valued, some gonna leave, and I know we do work for money, but if you make them feel valued and appreciated, so maybe we can think of some ways and some things that we can do to make people feel like it, because we all wanna be that way. And then when you're excited to get there, to be in that classroom with those kids, it makes a difference. We might not have a lot of money, but we got a big heart. So we have to use it the right way. We're gonna move on to our action items, and the first action item is lawn care contract.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members again.
Good evening.
Prior to the meeting beginning, I provided each of you with a chart in front of you as well as some additional paperwork. And basically back during the month of July, for the last 2 weeks of the month, we reopened the lawn care contract information for requests for quotes or pricing. And once we reopened that, during that 2-week period, we received 4 quotes back and 4 bids back during this process. And so we shared that information with you. Just to give you a breakdown of that, there are 2 color-coded columns on the chart. The first column, I think, is yellow, mine is black and white, but it looks like it's yellow, and that's the price per could for each individual could at each individual school. And then, during the scope of work specified 24 cooks per each location, and it was broken down by months, how many per month. So during some months, there was a maximum of 3, other months there was a maximum of 2, some months there was 1, but it came out to 24. So if you take that price per cook, multiply it by 24, that gives you the cost there on the total column, which is an orangish red color. And then whenever you take all of those and you do a sum of each individual column, that gives you the total down at the bottom. And the total fiscal amount for the year is bolded for each of those 4 companies. And then the additional paperwork that I gave you in front of each company's information was the advertisement that was posted for 2 weeks. And then after that page is the information that each company submitted so that you can see those. And then behind the quote or price that each company submitted was a certificate of insurance so that we can see that they do have insurance in case there's property damage or something of that nature. So essentially the quote or the contract would be for the 24-25 school year. And if it's written as the current one was written, we would have the opportunity to go into an additional 2 years if we're satisfied for those services. So it could potentially be a total of 3 years. So with that information being provided to you with the name of each individual company as well as the fiscal cost per year, we just need a recommendation and a vote on which company we would like to move forward with out of those 4.
Well, we have a lawn care company, and I'm just my opinion, they're doing a good job. And I'm like this, if it's not broken, while we're trying to like fix it. Other thing is this, my only issue with this second company on here, this guy pretty much was trying to force us to make a contract with him. Like, he was doing all kinds of things. I don't know, from my understanding, he was trying to give incentives to you guys, to make us take him as a lawn care company. We currently have quality lawn care. There's not been an issue with them. I think the only issue was they were told not to cut, or the contract ran out, and they weren't cut, they were not cutting until they were instructed to start acting. So, my goal, I'm saying, is gonna be with quality lawn care, because they are our current lawn care company, and they do a good job of what they do. And I always, you look at it, most of the time when a company gives a lower bid, they do that to get the contract. But once they get the contract, then there becomes other issues that they want to add, or they want to get an amendment to up the price. So, and I think, I was on the board when quality lawn care was selected, and I don't think their fees went up too high. They've been pretty much the same, since he's been cut. And my goal is gonna be with quality lawn care.
Your recommendation.
Yeah, my recommendation is quality lawn care, what we already have.
I have a question. I probably missed this, so again, was this sent to us?
Yes, ma'am.
It was,
Yeah.
it was sent.
Yeah.
I asked him to send it last week, so it was there. Yeah, it's very important that people, it was, he sent it. There's your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else got anything else that they want to say before we put this motion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So, if someone can answer this question, the administration, what products is
The contract expired.
Yes, the contract was up in June of this year. We initially had a 1-year contract, but then we were satisfied with the services, so it auto renewed for 2 years. So it was at its expiration.
So other than the expiration, was there a requirement for us to do this?
To read it?
To try to go out and look somebody else?
Just to, what's the definition called? Just to get bids to solidify, I don't know, I'm at a loss for words on it.
Okay.
But, I'm sorry, but basically it was competitive pricing, competitive services. And that's what we're looking for, which is why we just re-advertised, because in the contract itself, it specifically stated that it would end after the 2-year, auto limit.
And we have to, as a board, we can look at the bidding process a little bit closer. I'm gonna send some stuff out to each individual so we can see how the process is supposed to go to as well, and we'll know. Because I understand your question, that's the same question I have already here. This has been on the agenda for, it's unnecessary to, can somebody make a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we continue with, quality line care for, 3 years.
I say,
Okay, it's been, the motion has been made to keep quality lawn care for the, contract. It's been second, all in favor say aye, for 3 years, say aye. Any opposers? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hunt. At this time, we'll go to the auditor contract. I'm not sure.
That's it. Yeah, for whole.
Okay.
Hello again. It is my recommendation that we go with the company of Anderson, Smith and White. The reason being is I believe that they are, they're very experienced, and they also present a lot of staff development conferences that I attend. I don't have any previous relationships or anything with them. Although I was at Hope County Schools when I came aboard, they were at Hope County Schools. But I recommend, because of their experience, I think they will be helpful in our finance department.
Mr. Holmes, I was under the impression that they were gonna be here.
That they were going to be here.
Yeah, isn't this the company that we had before? Yes.
I apologize, I wasn't aware that they were supposed to be here.
They are the company we had before.
Yes.
And they didn't want to come and explain the budget, I mean, what their findings. And so those were gonna be my questions tonight, Mike. I mean,
I'll be glad to take them from you. I think this was the company that was always coming. We had them for a while, we had them for a while. And then I think Chairman Blue made a motion one night to go with another company. And then they were sort of out. And then we went with another company, but that company.
The reason, excuse me, the reason why I made that motion that night is because the information we got is that and you was on board with us, if I'm not mistaken, if I can go back and look at the minutes. We changed the company because they said we should switch up every so many years.
Right,
So that's why
I'm the one who asked the question.
That's why the motion was made.
Right, yeah, I'm the one who asked the question. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, so when you, they decided to stay, there's not any, and they are very, we know them now, everywhere. So they do a lot of schools. So whenever they come, they always come and explain everything this company does. So the one we just had, he did not come and help and do anything. He just was sending emails. But when we put out the notice for auditors to come, the one that last year didn't bid, this is the only company that bid with us. Because it's only like 3 or 4 companies that do schools.
I'm Mr. Chairman, this company, the last company that we had, and we came on board, they did not come back. So we wanted them to come back and explain the findings that they had found. They did not come back and explain anything to us. Now, they probably explained it in 22 before we got here, but when we asked for them to come back, they did not come back. Juanita was here, and she said they did not want to come back and explain anything to us. So my concern is now, why want to come back now? I mean, why should we even want to hire a company that didn't want to come back and explain to us? They want to take time out and tell us their findings. That's all we want to know. And they didn't want to take the time to come out, so now you're recommending that we hire this company again.
I do understand your concerns.
From my understanding, this is the only, auditors that
Responded.
to respond to the bid. And we was in county and bond last year, we not gonna be in the bond bid this year. So, we can vote on it tonight and we can ask them to come and give us some information. But we was so close to being in trouble with the state last year because of the auditor. We got to, and if this the only bid that we got, I know it's not normal, but I make a motion that we, be contracted with Anderson.
You put out the motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
why don't we modify the contract to where we explicitly indicate that if they're summoned, that they are required to come and explain themselves. That way, if there's nothing in solid, then, hey, we did our job, so, but if we have a contract, I would say that maybe table it to next month with the condition that, we add some type of clause that if we summon you here for questions, you are required to attend based on this contract. And then,
Would that put us in a bind? We wait until,
I wouldn't want to do that, because I really want to go ahead and start on our audit, so we're not in the jam. This audit has to be completed by October.
Madam Chair, I second your motion.
so, moving to, I understand what you're saying, because I feel like that too. I would love to, hear some more stuff, but this is vital. And I read somewhere in the contract, I think it's only a year. I couldn't sleep whenever I got that email from the state last year. And if we don't go ahead and jump on it, I mean, I hate when things come to us this late like this, we gotta make a decision. But tonight, I stand to say, that we go with this with this company.
I mean, I understand that, Madam Chair. I mean, we do have, I know we're trying to limit our meetings, but, I think this is something major. We could always, agree to have a special meeting for this with this. I mean, I understand, the concern that, Angela has, and, we can put a rush on this, and, my point, and to add to, Angela's, is that if you want to come with us and we summon you, you should come.
Yeah, I think they would've came if we would have. But that's somebody's.
Let me put it to you like this. I'm the superintendent of this district. If I tell somebody to come speak to the board, they come. Okay. It's just that simple. If I tell them to come and make a presentation to the board, they're coming. If we have a contract. So I'm not concerned about that. I don't know what happened before I got here with the interims, but people are summoned to come to talk to the board about it, and they're doing business. They are coming.
That makes me feel better.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't think it was this company that did not want to come. Because when I was here, I want to say, they came and did a presentation. They came, when we asked them to come, when I was on the board, they came and did a presentation and gave us they shared our audit with us. Now, I do know that they came. Now, this company that we just had, I think they are different, but they did not come. But this company right here that we're talking about, they were the auditors when I came on in 2020, and they did come and do the presentation.
They came and you.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it wasn't on there.
So I think when y'all came on, they were, actually, they were dismissed, and we picked up another company.
That's the package one day is still. It don't matter, I'm gonna oppose it, y'all can go ahead and.
I make a motion that we, okay, I make a motion that we, hire Anderson Smith and White PLC. Okay, it's been motion and second, that we, go ahead and get the contract for Anderson Smith and White PLC. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, we have it. Thank you. At this time, we'll have the administrative salary scale. I think we talked a little bit about it.
And again, it's just that salary scale. About administrative, they all have been moved to their proper, level. And I ask that whenever you guys go into closed session, that you look at the scales and the names that's attached behind it, to make sure, and just notice the ones that are highlighted in yellow are the ones that were on the 0 scales. And you will see that some of them were supposed to be directors, and they were different, and they were not supposed to be on scale 0, but they are not there anymore. And I also would like to ask if you look at the other salary scales that have been attached in closed session, and just, either approve or deny them. Because, and the reason why I'm asking is because these have to be updated before August pay. It was supposed to come in July, and we were asked to table it to this meeting. And our 10 months employees come back, they're back now, and we have to fix these before August pay. And the reason why I said ask if you look at it in closed session, because it has names and salaries on it.
And this is including insurance and all that stuff.
Well, everything that you see on there includes their salary, their yearly salary, plus the benefits that we get. Yes, ma'am.
So should this have been, in personnel?
Well, the salary can be in open session because it's public, but because we had a problem with the administrative scale, I had to add the names. And that can, I don't think if that can be in open session.
Right, so we're not voting on this right now, correct me?
Right, if you can take care of it in closed session.
Okay, can we go to the 1% supplement?
Yes, come on, Erica.
Well, I'll take care of this.
Okay, there you go.
This is a very good day, it's a very historic day. Hope County Schools, we go from 4% to 5% in our supplement for classified staff, and from 6% to 7% for our certified staff. This will make us more competitive. We talked about losing staff. We lose a lot of staff because the supplements are higher at places like Cumberland County. We know we're still not going to be there, but this is a nice step. And we haven't improved this supplement in years. So I think it's a good olive branch. I think it's going to help us on the recruiting trail. And help us close that gap with some of the, we know we can't compete with Wake and Mecklenburg and people like that, but it can't help us close the gap around here. And that's what we're looking to do.
So we say from 6% to 7%?
6% to 7% for certified.
Certified.
And 4% to 5% for classified.
It's not. Madam Chair?
Yes.
I move that we increase our classified staff from 4% to 5%, and our certified staff from 6% to 7%.
Second.
Okay, it's been approved and second. The motion has been made and been second for classified staff from 4% to 5%, certified from 6% to 7%. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. At this time, we're gonna have the 2024-2025 federal grant application.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Conference Fells. I'm standing before you this evening to present to you all the fiscal year 2025 federal grant application. The federal grant applications for our federal programs are Title I, Title I Part A and C, Title II, Title III, and Title IV. These applications are due to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction on August 30, 2024. Title I Part C is our migrant grant. The allotment for this grant is $124,513, which is an increase of $4,000. These funds will pay 3 10-month full-time salaries and 1 12-month migrant recruiter position. Funds will also be used to fund other areas within the migrant program. Title II is our supported effective instruction grant. The allotment for this grant is $412,159, and this allotment had a decrease of $15,276. These funds are for teacher salaries, tuition reimbursement, new teacher orientation, and supplies and materials. Title III is our language acquisition grant. The allotment for this grant is $83,460, which is an increase of $3,179 from last year. These funds are used to implement the language instructional educational plan for additional staff, materials, and resources. Title IV is our student support and academic enrichment grant. The allotment for this grant is $214,880. This is a decrease of $15,366. This grant is intended to help Polk County schools improve student academic achievement by focusing on 3 areas: well-rounded education, safe and healthy students, and effective use of technology integration. Title I Part A is our basic programs grant. The allotment of this grant is $2,884,828, a significant decrease from last year of $81,232. This grant primarily pays for teacher salary and tutorial programs, professional development for teaching staff, funds and federal program staff and department, foster care, transportation, and homeless education, instructional materials for classroom and student use, and $150,000 of this funding is blended in with the North Carolina Pre-K, Smart Start, and EC preschool to support pre-K classes. Funds allocated to the schools is based on the required rank service mandated using free and reduced lunch application percentages and the number of qualifying students. We do have students who are attending private schools, but these schools participating in the basic programs grant. So far, we have 2 schools that have said yes, and they've sent me the names and address of the students for me to verify. So we do have their budgets allocated out to them. The total amount for these private schools is $7,931.50. That's a total of 14 students and being served by 2 private schools systems. Any questions?
Any questions?
It is recommended and requested that the Board of Education approve the submission of the Title I Part A and C, Title II, Title III, and Title IV applications for the fiscal year 2025.
No question? Can I get a motion to approve?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I move to approve the Title I Part A and C, Title II, Title III, Title IV application for the fiscal year 2025.
Second.
Okay, it's been, the motion has been made, it's been second to approve the Title I Part A and C, Title II, Title III, and Title IV application for the fiscal year of 2025. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. At this time, can I get one of the board members to read the closed session?
I make a motion to go into closed session for the following reasons: to consider confidential personnel protecting the North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 A3, to consider the initial matters related to initial employment of individual employees pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 A6, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and consider the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statute 143-311.18 A3.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to go into closed session.